Join us as we search Alaska and beyond for mysterious creatures, featuring Beans Baxter and Rob Roy Menzies. This is the Alaska Bigfoot Studies. Hey guys, welcome once again to the Alaska Bigfoot Studies. Well, I wanted to revisit places that Bigfoot exists in Alaska. We've had some fun expeditions recently, and Alex from Small Town Monsters kind of helped get me into all of this, is visiting again for a short period. I think him and Rob Roy are going to go out to somewhere that they have labeled Area A, and that is kind of in south central Alaska. It's kind of vague area that I can't say exactly where it is, but it's definitely a hot spot. They've encountered some really cool activity there. But when it comes to Alaska, I think the entire state's a ripe hotspot because our population is low and we've just got so much land, and the land is so unexplored and it's hard to get through. It's hard to maneuver. I'll never forget going through a strait around from Seward all the way kind of around the back of the peninsula to Homer. We went through one of those glacial fjords, Kodiak's on one side of us and the rocks are on the other side of the peninsula. And my uncle, pointed at the cliffs and he says, "You see that? No human can really ever get there." And the reason is because there's nowhere to land a boat where we were driving, and it's just rocks that jut straight out of the ocean and then a thick forest on top of those rocks. There would have to be a lake to land a float plane, or the military could drop somebody carefully from a helicopter, but in some areas even that is difficult. So it's just, you can't get there. What a perfect place for something that has not been discovered, doesn't want to be discovered, to hide out, places like that. Now, hot spots in my mind, the biggest one that comes to mind is the southern Kenai Peninsula. Of course, we got Port Chatham there. Beans wrote a book on it. He's got a couple other books too, but that area is off the road, so you cannot drive there, and the road ends in Homer, or a little past Homer, and then you have to take an airplane or a boat to access some of that area, and depending on the weather, it can be really hard to access it even by boat or airplane. But anytime you get past the road system is where you're going to have more activity. Beans kind of thinks that it's such a hot spot because as civilization grew and the road grew and more towns, those creatures just got pushed farther and farther out until they're, went around the bay, they're off the road system. But we've just had so much activity there, stories. It's a really neat area. So even on the road system, though, interestingly enough, we're getting reports of people sighting Bigfoots just in the Kenai Peninsula, or Bigfoot, I guess it's plural like that. But another area that I have to talk about, I know I did that map area of what we call the Panhandle of Alaska. So if this is Alaska, it's that little strip right here, and of course it's connected to British Columbia, and then you just go far, a little ways down, you'll hit Washington State. Now that is an extreme hotspot because it's close to the Pacific Northwest, where Bigfoot, kind of the legend grew. We also have the Tsimshian, the Haida, and the Tlingit, of course, that their tribes are well aware of, and the different clans and stuff, of the wild man, the hairy man, big part of that culture. And there's things that probably we won't hear about or understand because they kind of protect a lot of things of that culture. So very interesting. Now, when I think of the different types of Bigfoot, I think of more of a gentler Bigfoot, if you will, less evil Bigfoot down in that area, whereas over in the Kenai Peninsula, we got the stories of Bigfoot killing people. Then we got Southwest Alaska, which is in the the area where Bethel is and the outlying villages. And then we got crazy hairy man stories from the Delta Discovery down there of Bigfoot ripping dogs apart and getting shot by humans and retaliating against them, following them home. And it's just a real hot spot for Bigfoot activity. I would like to go to the interior more. That's in the middle of Alaska. I know I've talked about the Alaska Triangle. It kind of goes from the top of Alaska, you know, to maybe Kodiak, and then, I don't know, it makes this triangle, but in the middle is the interior, kind of Mount Hayes, if you will, in the middle. Some crazy UFO stories around there, but the interior is just less populated. It's way spread out. It's very hard to get through, you know, area with no roads, and we just have wild man stories everywhere there. And then there's the North Slope. The North Slope is a very odd place. That's even more less inhabited. On the very top of Alaska, you get all the way to the Arctic coast, where you just got tundra. You know, there's not high trees, there's shrubs, and there's just that swampy tundra. I mean, you can't get very far there on foot. I know I've done it before. It is not fun, especially when you're walking on that swampy tundra. So, and there have been lots of wild man reports and all kinds of cryptids from up there. And then as you get into the interior, closer to the Alaska, or the Alaska-Canada border, another hot spot, especially for UFOs and things like that, but Bigfoot all over there. So let me know what spots you guys would like me to check out. I know people have been talking about a Clutna Lake. We're planning an expedition there at some point, just all kinds of places, but I'm always interested to hear from people and take notes and see what kind of places we can check out and explore. So thanks for tuning in. I'll have another video up next Sunday. It's Chuke, your friend in the field.